You're sitting in a quiet room. The air is still, and then, without warning, you look over and realize the baby has been staring at you. Not glancing, not scanning the room, staring, directly, unblinking, completely locked onto your face as if they are reading something written there that you yourself cannot see. And just for a second, one strange, suspended second, it doesn't feel like a baby looking at you. It feels like something else entirely. You have probably brushed it off before. They just like faces, someone told you. It's visual. Their brains are developing. That answer seemed clean, easy, so you accepted it and moved on.
But what if that explanation has always been missing the most important part? Because what neuroscientists have quietly discovered over the last 20 years doesn't just update what we understand about infant behavior, it fundamentally rewrites it. And once you truly understand what is actually happening inside that small, steady, unblinking stare, you will never look at a baby the same way again. Let's start with the version most people are comfortable believing. The common explanation goes like this. Babies stare at human faces because their visual system is still developing. A face, with its contrast, movement, and shifting expressions, is the most visually stimulating object in any room. This is what parenting books teach, what developmental psychology courses confirm, and on the surface it makes sense. But here is exactly where it begins to fall apart. If babies stared purely for visual stimulation, they would be equally drawn to high-contrast patterns, spinning toys, or flickering screens. But they are not. Study after study shows that infants display a specific, deliberate preference for certain human faces, particularly familiar ones. And that preference doesn't behave like a simple reflex. It behaves like something deeply intentional.
So what is actually happening inside that quiet, relentless, unblinking gaze? In 2017, researchers at Princeton University conducted a study that quietly became one of the most important findings in infant neuroscience. Using EEG technology, which measures electrical brain activity in real time, they monitored both an infant and a caregiver simultaneously during face-to-face interaction, tracking what happened inside two brains at the exact same moment. What they found astonished the entire research team. When a baby made sustained eye contact with a caregiver, their brain waves began to synchronize. Not vaguely, not loosely. The electrical rhythms in the infant's brain started mirroring those of the adult with measurable, repeatable precision. And crucially, the longer the eye contact lasted, the stronger and more stable that synchronization became. But the finding that truly changed everything was this. The infants with the highest neural synchrony also showed a sharp increase in communication attempts immediately after. More babbling, more reaching, more deliberate gesturing. Their brains were not receiving passively. They were actively reaching out. That stare was the opening move in something far more powerful than you were ever told, and you were only just beginning to see it.
Think about what that actually means. That baby wasn't staring at you, it was syncing with you. Its brain was reaching out and locking on to the electrical rhythms of your mind, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant in a two-way neurological dialogue. Scientists call this process neural coupling, and in infants, it doesn't happen randomly. It happens most powerfully with the people the baby is learning to trust. But here is where it becomes even more complex. A second study, published by Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, revealed that this synchronization is not just a neurological response, it is a building block of the infant's developing mind. Every moment of mutual gaze helps organize the baby's prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for attention, impulse control, and emotional regulation. The stare isn't just a moment, it is a message the brain stores, a message that says, "The world responds to me. I am seen. I am safe." Pause on that for a moment. Every time you hold eye contact with an infant, every time you meet their gaze and hold it, you are not just bonding with them, you are participating in the construction of the neural pathways they will use for the rest of their lives. Your attention is not passive, it is structural, it is formative. And this is where the emotional layer becomes impossible to ignore. Researchers studying attachment behavior have found that infants who experience consistent, responsive eye contact in their first year of life show measurably stronger emotional regulation, higher tolerance for stress, and greater social confidence by age 3. The stare is not just a moment, it is a message the brain stores, a message that says, "The world responds to me. I am seen. I am safe."
That is what they are trying to tell you when they stare. But now comes the part that is harder to talk about. In one of the most cited and quietly disturbing studies in developmental psychology, researcher Edward Tronick introduced what is known as the still face experiment. A mother and infant engage in warm, natural face-to-face interaction, smiling, talking, responding. And then, on instruction, the mother stops. She turns back to the baby with a completely expressionless, still face. No response, no reaction, total blankness. Within seconds, the baby notices. First, the infant tries everything it knows, smiling, reaching, pointing, vocalizing. It cycles through its entire repertoire of connection signals, sending one message after another, trying to re-establish the link that was just severed. But the mother's face remains still. And then something shifts. The baby withdraws. The attempts stop. The posture collapses. Within 90 seconds, infants in this experiment show measurable physiological stress, elevated cortisol, increased heart rate, visible distress. Not because they were physically harmed, but because the gaze, the connection, was taken away. That is how essential this stare is. That is how much it matters. To them, losing your eyes is not a minor thing. It feels like losing the world. All of it.
So here is the truth, the one that ties everything together. Babies are not passive recipients of the world around them. They are not simply absorbing sights and sounds while waiting to grow. From their very first weeks, they are active, seeking, intelligent agents of connection. The stare is not the behavior of a developing creature waiting to become capable. It is already a sophisticated form of communication, and it has been from the start. A baby staring at you is not confused. It is not randomly stimulated. It is scanning your face for emotional data, synchronizing its neural rhythms with yours, testing whether the connection is alive and actively working to maintain it. It is conducting a real-time cognitive and emotional assessment of the most important resource in its environment, which is you. And that assessment shapes everything. Here is what you need to pay attention to. Research on early attachment consistently shows that the quality of eye contact in the first 12 months has long-term implications for the child's emotional architecture. Infants who receive warm, consistent, responsive gaze develop stronger neural pathways for emotional regulation, empathy, and resilience. Infants who experience frequent disconnection, caregivers who are distracted, absent, or unresponsive, show measurably different brain development outcomes. This is not about perfection. No parent can be fully present every moment. That is not what the research is asking for. But it is asking you to understand the weight of those small moments when a baby turns its face toward yours, when it locks eyes and holds, when it waits. It is asking you to meet it there. Because the baby is not just looking at your face. It is looking for evidence that you are there, that you see it, that the world, its entire world at this point, is responsive and safe and real. And every time you look back with warmth and presence, you are writing that message directly into the developing architecture of its brain. Now, go back to the beginning. That baby sitting in a quiet room, staring at you with those wide, unblinking eyes, you understand it differently now. The slight discomfort you felt, the sense that something was happening you couldn't name, you were right. Something was happening. Something deeply significant.
Not strange, not unsettling, profound and real. That stare was a conversation, a question asked without language, a hand extended without fingers. It was a small mind reaching across the space between two people and saying in the only way it knows how, "I am here. Are you?" And now you know the full answer it was hoping for. Before you go, think about one person in your life who made you feel truly seen as a child. Not just watched, but genuinely met. And ask yourself, what did that do to who you became? Because next time, we are going to explore how those very earliest moments of being seen or unseen shape the adult identity you are carrying right now.